So I have kept you all waiting long enough. Apologies if I look tired, apologies if my hair's all messed up. I did get a haircut, but it's been a long day, so it's all probably sorts of jank and messed up. But I wanted to record this video, like My Hero Academia chapter 229 chapter review. I want to do it because you guys have been, probably missing the videos. It's been a few days, like 2 to 3 days. Been busy this weekend, so I wanted to at least get a few videos out before I kind of do night, sleep a little bit. So I'm just going to be just straight up with you, okay? The people that are clicking on this video. It might be tomorrow morning when you see it, maybe a few weeks, or maybe just as soon as I upload it. But I want to be honest with you. This video is probably not going to have panels put into it. Like, how I normally have the panels put alongside of the video and I do stuff like that? I'm probably not going to have that for this video because that's going to take a long time to do, and I want to be able to have this video out. Obviously, I'll edit it by just putting in the panels, resizing them, making sure there's no copyright and stuff like that. I'm most likely just going to, get this video out without that. And when I come around to my next videos, obviously, I will have to have a proper night's sleep. I wanted to make sure everybody's on the same page if you don't see anything like that. So, okay, let's get right into it. This chapter of My Hero Academia, chapter 229, was so good. Like, let's just talk about that final page, the reference. So Horikoshi's had a lot of references. Like, he's done a lot of references to Marvel, DC, etc., etc. Like, for instance, we've had the whole situation with Deku kind of being like Spider-Man. We've had the situation with Redestro in his introduction being very identical to some of the elements of Joker, to also seeing the whole Togata color page that came out a very long time ago in the Overhaul arc, having him, I believe, Eri, which is reminiscent of, I think it was Killing Joke or something. It was basically where Batman was holding Robin while he was dying or / dead, and that was like a reference to that from Togata holding Eri. And now we have in this chapter at the end, the final page is where it says it only takes one bad day. And from what I get, like, I've seen the show myself and I've read into some of the comics, it's Punisher. Punisher is someone that this line is definitely affiliated with. That's kind of what represents the Punisher, and so I'm going to kind of get right into it. The Punisher, as we all know, he is an anti-hero. He is someone that punishes criminals. And he is someone that will get justice his own way. Like, he believes that no matter what you do, a criminal is just going to turn around and keep doing bad things over and over. Like, let's look at Joker and Batman. Like, Batman can easily get rid of a lot of problems if he was to end Joker, but he doesn't because he doesn't do any killing. And a lot of superheroes don't do stuff like that. They just give it to the Justice Department, let them handle it, but then things just go south, and then the villain comes back out again. And that's basically what the Punisher doesn't like. He doesn't like how criminals can just keep coming back, and so he takes it into his own hands and he ends them. He just gets rid of them. And so when he talks to Daredevil, he's like, it only takes one day. What separates me and you, Daredevil, is that you're a guy that woke up in the morning, has never really had a bad day. That's what happened to the Punisher. He was someone that he woke up, family died, he had a real bad day, and it resulted in him to go on the path he's at, this darker path. He's basically saying it just takes one bad day. With one bad day, everything is gone. Your entire world comes crashing down around you, and you will no longer ever be the same person ever again. It's gone. It's permanently gone. There's no way to ever gain back what you lost. That's what he was trying to say. That's what separated him from some heroes throughout Marvel or /DC, is that one bad day is all it takes. Like a serious bad day, and you're never going to go back to what you once were. Like, imagine Batman truly had a bad day or something, he might not ever go back. Or, you have something like Daredevil. That's the point here, is that some heroes would probably never be the same. And that perfectly represents what happened to Twice in this chapter. And so let's get right into it. As we know, from what I said in my last chapter review, but also Twice as a character, he's someone that's always been shattered, broken. He's someone that has never been right. And now with the current situation, he had to stand up, man up, and face the PTSD, the trauma he experienced so long ago. He no longer could run from the situation. He had to face it head on. There was nothing else he could do. And so when you see the event at the end with the man finally's like, let me show you how scary I can be, and he just sits there, he's crouched down, you see his arms just broken laying like this, and you see all of his, clones just coming out of him, making poses, which is cool by the way and funny, but seeing them come out, it really demonstrates the full-on terror of how crazy, Twice can be. How many clones he can make, but how he could just straight up really overthrow a country and do some really scary tactics with his clones. So that's what separates him from, other, characters. It just takes one bad day, and that's what resulted in what he is. His one bad day is what led his life to be where it's at. And let's kind of look at his history, his backstory that was given within this chapter, which, by the way, I really love how Horikoshi is taking the time to dive into the backstories of our villains. We already had brief insight to Shigaraki, and then we had some insight to Toga, and now we're having insight to Twice, which makes me believe if things continue, we're probably going to have insight to, probably Mr. Compress and Dobby. We've already had some on Spinner as well, now that I think about it. So, yeah, it's just Mr. Compress and Dobby that we really need some backstory to and some clarification to Shigaraki, and we're pretty good to go. But getting back on topic, though, this chapter is just a Twice-related chapter. It wants to focus on him and demonstrate why he is who he is, why he is where he's at right now. And once again, the main contrast of this chapter goes perfectly with Toga. Toga was someone that was always repressed. She was someone that could not be herself, and so because of that, she eventually snapped and became what she was, and she became like this monster, and she can never be fixed because that's who she is. And Twice is someone completely different. He's the exact opposite. He was someone that technically had everything, he had the ability to use his powers to be what he wants because he didn't have anyone really repressing him, like parents, because they were out of the picture, and he was able to be free. But because of being free, it eventually broke him to where he didn't want to be free. So it shows the contrast to both of the characters and how sad it really can be from different situations. But anyways, Twice, he was someone that lost his parents at a very early age when he was in middle school. You gotta imagine, a kid that age, it's gonna ruin you. It's gonna straight up ruin you, especially if you have no one to really be with. He basically states he had no relatives or anyone to stay with, so losing your parents at that age, and then having no one to really stay with, it's gonna mess you up. And even if you go to a foster home or something, it's gonna mess you up. So it's just, there's all sorts of issues to really look at it with. But the point is, though, he had no one. And obviously, eventually, because of his situation and how he messed up in school, because he was acting out. In his situation, when he was driving, he messed up and all that. He was a kid that wasn't able to really have that upbringing, that parental love, or any love around him. He was all by himself, isolated, so he had no one to really, slap his hand, tell him he's going the wrong way, wrong direction with his life. He didn't have that. He was able to be a free bird, but because of that freedom, he ruined himself. And that's what this perfectly demonstrated, is that he was someone that just, it seemed like he could be something great. He had potential, but it turned out to be really bad as he slowly just got deeper and deeper into that hole. He went down a spiral, and there was just nothing he could do to really get out of it. And so when he finally realized he was all alone, there's nothing he can do, he just decided to start using his quirk to just create clones of himself, which really demonstrates the full power of his loneliness. Which is the sad part about this, is that he never had anyone but himself. And when you see him clone himself in this chapter, it represents that he has always just had himself. And he had to use himself to have his own friend. He used his own clones to be his friend. He befriended himself. And he never had friends for himself, other people besides himself. And which shows the significance of how important Toga is to Twice, and all the others from the League of Villains, and why he cares so much about them is because he's never had that. And it's kind of sad, really, when you think about a shonen, shonen's all about friendship, knocking my power up, stuff like that, and that's kind of what the League of Villains are. They're a group of friends, they're a family, But they're dysfunctional. They're very dysfunctional and messed up, but they are family at the end of the day. And that's what this is representing here, is that Twice, he finally found something. He found family. He found light. And even if it's not the proper light and it's twisted, he was able to find something that actually makes him feel whole, makes him feel like he has something. There's a reason to be here. So it's sad. It's super sad seeing that story because, once again, this is something that could happen in real life. Maybe not with powers and stuff, but like stuff like that happens. People go down the wrong path just because they never had anything, and when they find something, regardless of how messed up it is, they'll go with it because that's the only thing they know. And that's what happened to Twice. And when you see his own self turn against him, that's when he lost everything. That's what really meant so much, is that, once again, he never had anything, and he only had himself. And when his own self turned against him, his own power and everything, he lost it. He didn't know what to feel. He didn't believe in himself. He no longer trusted himself. It was super sad. It's a really sad backstory for Twice, and I couldn't help but feel really bad for him. I think many reading this chapter will agree with me that Twice really has a messed up backstory, and this gives proper clarification to why he struggled so long just to use his quirk the way he did in this chapter, is because he lost all faith in everything, and Toga in the League of Villains was able to kind of wake him up, snap him back into reality of what he needs. So, to get a little bit further though, let's talk about his awakening, being able to use his quirk again. He was forced to make a critical decision. Does he A, let Toga die and refuse to use his quirk, or does he use his quirk to save Toga? That was the two options that were really available to him, and because of the stress and when he realized what was more important, he put a very big decision in his mind. He had to weigh the options. Is the life of his friend Toga more important than him finding out if he is a real version of himself or not? Which, this goes along more with his quirk and what's interesting about, which I'll get into, but he was always someone that was scared to get damaged, because if he got damaged, he might disappear. That's what he, always said, and that's what he said within this chapter. So it makes sense why he'd be just terrified of really getting into a fight. But he decided to risk his own life, sacrifice himself, just to be able to save Toga, which meant a hell of a lot. It was a big deal right then. So he thought she was worth more. So that's why he did what he did at the end of the chapter. So I can't help but just say, man, Horikoshi's just doing a fantastic job with handling the character development of our villains of the League of Villains. He's doing a fantastic job, and I couldn't ask for any better in terms of characterization and development. It's good to see that Toga is still alive, by the way. That was kind of clarified that she was still moving, so she's not necessarily dead. So Toga can be saved by Twice, and Twice has gotten a major power-up. Like, his power-up is ridiculous, because he now can clone himself, which makes him incredibly deadly. He can really, he could probably create an army. That's just how strong it is. And so I can't wait. And I wonder if his quirk will get some form of upgrade. Like, because of how he's not really used on himself that much, I wonder if he'll gain the power to really make full-on duplicates that won't be destroyed with slight damage, and which would once again carry on the possibility that the Twice we know isn't really the real Twice. I wonder if Horikoshi will carry on with that or not, and show the twisted nature of him. I think that's about it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.